This is Meet Sean, where we break down real life topics insurance, annuities, real estate, travel planning, and home ownership so you can make smarter moves. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.
If you just unlock the door to a new home, statistics suggest there's a remarkably high probability that you're about to waste thousands of dollars.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Right. Thousands of dollars on things that will probably end up in a landfill within like 3 years.
It's scary how common that is.
It is, because you step inside and your voice is echoing against these bare walls. And what feels like this really exciting blank slate is actually, one of the most dangerous financial traps you can walk into.
It really is a beautifully disguised trap, too, because, the pressure to fill that empty space, to buy the huge sectional, the matching rugs, the 30-piece knife set, it feels less like toxic consumerism and more like nesting,
No, exactly. It feels productive.
Right. But before you know it, that echoing sanctuary turns into this very expensive, very cluttered storage unit.
Which brings us to our mission today. We are looking at a really comprehensive guide from kokinapolish.com. And it's titled Home Essentials Online, How to Buy Better Without Overcrowding Your House.
It's a great read.
It really is. And our goal here for this deep dive is to help you build a highly functional home essentials list without blowing your budget, basically transitioning you from a frantic consumer into a deliberate, intentional curator of your space.
I love that word, curator. And that transition, it has to happen before you even open a browser tab, like before you add a single item to a cart.
Right.
The guide actually anchors this whole philosophy on what they call the space audit, which is it fundamentally changes how you look at the physical geography of your house.
Okay, let's unpack this, because usually, when I need something for the house, I just sit on the couch, pull out my phone, open an app, and just start scrolling.
Which is exactly what they say not to do.
Right. The guide says that's the absolute wrong approach. They want you grouping everything by room, like physically standing in the kitchen, documenting what is missing, and then, physically moving to the bathroom.
Yeah, you have to ground yourself in the physical space to sort of counteract that infinite frictionless scroll of the internet.
The endless scroll.
Exactly. By standing in the room, you're forced to confront the actual physical reality of where an object is going to live.
It really reminds me of the golden rule of grocery shopping.
Don't go hungry.
Yes. If you wander into a supermarket hungry and you don't have a list grouped by aisle, you end up just throwing like 3 bags of chips into the cart.
And you get home with absolutely nothing to make for dinner.
Exactly. And the internet is just an infinite supermarket.
That is a perfect way to look at it. But the internet is even more dangerous because it's not just selling you products, it's selling you an identity.
Oh, that is so true.
Right. This is where the source highlights this really crucial difference between our fantasy habits and our actual habits. When you get a new house, you inevitably project this aspirational version of yourself onto the space.
Oh man, the fantasy self. I know that guy intimately.
We all do.
Yeah, he makes fresh pasta from scratch on Sunday afternoons.
Exactly. Your fantasy self looks around and says, oh, I have a big new kitchen island now, therefore I am going to become an artisan baker.
All right, time to buy the gear.
Yep. So you put a $400 stand mixer on the list. But if you don't actually bake right now, like in your current reality, you absolutely do not need that mixer.
It's just decor at that point.
Exactly. The guide argues you only need true functional essentials.
But I do have to push back just a little bit on this room-by-room audit thing.
Okay, lay it on me.
If you are a brand new homeowner and you walk through every single room, writing down what you actually need, isn't that list still going to be incredibly long?
Well, it will be, yeah. Which is why their definition of a true essential is incredibly strict. It really all comes down to daily utility.
Okay.
The source uses the kitchen as the ultimate proving ground for this. So instead of buying a massive wooden block of, mediocre knives.
You only use like 2 of them anyway.
Right, exactly. Or stuffing a drawer with single-use gadgets like an avocado slicer or one of those silicone garlic peeling tubes.
Yoki.
They advocate for hiring just a few high-quality multi-purpose workhorses.
So instead of a gadget for every single tiny problem, you want one tool that solves like 5 problems.
Exactly.
What specific tools do they highlight for the kitchen?
They single out 3 absolute workhorses: Wusthof chef's knife, a heavy-duty Lodge cast iron skillet, and a Vitamix blender.
Okay, I can already hear people listening to this and thinking, wait, those are super expensive.
They are an investment, for sure.
Right. But the mechanism here is about the consolidation of utility. Like a really good chef's knife literally eliminates the need for the avocado slicer, the garlic press, the pizza cutter.
You hit the nail on the head. You aren't just buying objects, you are hiring tools to do a job.
Hiring tools, I like that.
And the source stresses keeping this room-by-room checklist strictly digital. So as you actually live in the space, you update the list on your phone.
So it's a living document.
Yeah, you notice what you actually reach for day to day, and you delete the things you eventually realize you can live without.
All right, so you've walked the echoing rooms, you've brutally fired your fantasy pasta-making self, and you have this logical room-by-room digital list.
You're ready to go.
But the reality check really hits when you look at the total cost.
Right.
Outfitting a home is expensive, even with just the essentials.
It is.
So how do we approach this without just, maxing out our credit cards during the very first online store sale we see?
Well, this is where we really have to talk about the psychology of online retail. The second you start searching for, say, a cast iron skillet, the algorithms are going to totally bombard you.
Oh, yeah. Targeted ads everywhere.
Exactly. Targeted ads, flash sales, those little red countdown timers.
Those timers stress me out so much.
They're designed to. So the source's defense mechanism against this is using a digital budget tracker before you do any browsing whatsoever.
Okay, yeah. The guide actually quotes Dave Ramsey here saying, a budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went.
Which is classic advice.
It is classic. But usually I feel like people view budgeting as a pair of handcuffs, It just feels really restrictive.
And that's where the guide flips the narrative completely. A digital budget tracker isn't about restriction at all. It's about tactical patience.
Tactical patience.
Yeah. When you assign every dollar a job in a spreadsheet or an app, you completely remove the panic. You know exactly what you can afford, which means you can just sit back, relax, and wait for the absolute right moment to strike.
Let's talk about the mechanics of those strikes.
Yeah.
Because the guide outlines some pretty advanced strategies for outsmarting dynamic pricing.
Yeah, dynamic pricing is basically retailers manipulating context to create fake urgency.
Right.
So they might list a vacuum at 20% off today and throw that red countdown timer next to it, making you feel this huge surge of anxiety that you're going to miss the deal.
Right. Your brain just instantly goes into scarcity mode. I have to buy this right now.
Exactly. To neutralize that, the source insists on using price history trackers. The big one they mention is Camel, Camel, Camel.
Which is such a funny name, but it's so useful.
It is. When you plug an Amazon link into that tool, it strips away all the retailer's marketing and just shows you a raw graph of the item's actual price over the last year.
That is so brilliant because it provides the one thing retailers desperately try to hide from you, which is historical context.
Precisely.
Like you might look at that graph and realize that today's super urgent flash sale price is actually just the normal baseline price it's been since January.
Or that it reliably drops by 40% every Black Friday, so you just wait a month.
Right. It completely de-weaponizes the sale. You become a data-driven shopper rather than an emotional one.
Which saves you so much money in the long run.
They also mention hunting in the open box sections at places like Target or Best Buy. I've always been a little wary of that, honestly. Like, does open box just mean it's broken?
Not at all, and that misconception is exactly why it's such a powerful strategy for a new homeowner on a strict budget. In the vast majority of cases, open box just means someone bought a blender, opened it up, realized it didn't fit under their cabinets, and returned it completely unused.
Ah, okay. So it's basically new.
Yeah. Or the cardboard got crushed in a shipping warehouse. You are getting a functionally brand new item for a fraction of the cost just because the unboxing experience isn't pristine.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So you've outsmarted the algorithm, you utilized a price tracker, and you kept your budget intact.
You're doing great so far.
But none of that actually matters if the item you just scored a quote-unquote deal on ends up in a dumpster by Thanksgiving.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if you buy a cheap chair that collapses in 2 months, you haven't actually saved money. You've just rented garbage.
That is the perfect way to phrase it. And that brings us to the core philosophy of the guide, which is quality over quantity.
Right.
When curating your sanctuary, durability has to be the primary metric.
This is where I always struggle with online shopping, though.
How so?
Well, if I'm standing in a physical store, I can lift a pan to gauge its weight, right? I can knock on a table to see if it sounds hollow.
Right, you have the tactile feedback.
Exactly. But when you're buying online, you are effectively shopping blind. And let's be honest, those online product descriptions are essentially just marketing fiction.
Oh, they absolutely are. They're totally fabricated. The source warns that you have to actively train your brain to ignore the beautifully staged, brightly lit lifestyle photos.
Oh, the ones with the perfect sunlight and the plants.
Yes. Those images are purely designed to sell you a feeling. They want you to imagine you're the kind of person who, drinks espresso in this impossibly clean, sunlit loft.
Right. They're selling the fantasy self again.
Exactly.
So if we are entirely ignoring the photos, how do we actually verify quality through a screen?
You really have to act like a detective in the fine print. You're looking for very specific material callouts.
Like,
The text gives clear examples. You want to see terms like solid wood. You want to see heavy gauge steel. If a brand is actually using premium, durable materials, they will loudly brag about it in the specifications.
okay, and if they don't? What if it just says something vague like rich wood finish or metal accents?
That is a massive red flag.
Really?
Yeah. Wood finish usually means a paper-thin sticker basically glued over MDF, which is medium-density fiberboard.
Let's actually pause on MDF for a second because it is everywhere online.
Yeah.
Why does the guide treat it like such a massive deal breaker for long-term essentials?
Because of the physical mechanics of how it's made, MDF is basically just sawdust held together with glue.
Sawdust and glue.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound great.
It's not. When you introduce the normal fluctuations of home humidity or, say, someone spills a glass of water on it, that sawdust acts exactly like a sponge.
Oh, I've seen that. It swells up.
It swells, it bubbles, and the glue just entirely breaks down. Moreover, screws have no actual wood grain to grip into.
Oh, right. Because it's just dust.
Exactly. So the moment you move that piece of furniture to vacuum behind it, the joints loosen and the screws strip right out.
That makes perfect sense. So you aren't just being a snob about having solid wood. You are actively avoiding a material that fundamentally degrades under normal household conditions.
Exactly. It's about longevity.
Okay, but let's look at the other side of the coin. The reviews. Even if the specs say solid wood, I still want social proof. The problem is I don't really trust reviews anymore either. There are so many fake ones.
The guide completely agrees with your skepticism there. They provide this highly specific framework for filtering reviews.
Oh, I need this.
Step 1, you must completely ignore all generic 5-star reviews that just say, looks great, or arrived fast.
Because those are usually written on day one,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
The person is basically reviewing the dopamine hit of the unboxing experience, not the actual product.
Precisely. They haven't stress tested it at all. The source states you must actively search for users who explicitly mention they've owned the item for several months.
Okay, that makes sense.
But here is the real vital strategy. You are analyzing those long-term reviews specifically for recurring complaints.
Wait, let me make sure I understand the mechanism here. What elevates a complaint to a quote-unquote recurring red flag versus just some grumpy customer who didn't read the instruction manual?
It's all about finding the pattern of failure.
Pattern of failure.
Okay, right. So if one person leaves a 1-star review saying a chair leg snapped, they might have assembled it wrong, or maybe their kids were jumping on it. That's just user error.
Right. Hard to judge the chair based on that.
But if you read 12 different reviews spanning across 6 months, and they all describe the exact same hinge snapping or the exact same veneer peeling off the left armrest,
then that is not a coincidence.
exactly. That is a systemic manufacturing flaw.
That is such a brilliant filter. You're basically looking for structural consensus in the negative reviews.
Yes. And the source anchors this entire durability section with just a fantastic quote. They say, "The bitterness of core quality remains long after the sweetness of low price is forgotten."
Oof. That hits hard.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, because you might feel this huge rush the day you save $50 on a coffee table. But every single day for the next 3 years,
Yeah.
when you walk past it and see that the edge is peeling,
It degrades the whole feeling of your home.
yeah, it just creates this low-level daily friction.
And avoiding that friction is really the ultimate goal here. But, okay, let's say you've done everything right.
Okay.
You decoded the materials, you found the durable, solid wood piece, it fits the budget, you order it, it arrives, and suddenly your living room feels like a cramped closet.
The scale problem.
Yes.
Because a measuring tape only gives you one-dimensional data for a three-dimensional problem. I might know a sofa is, say, 80 inches long, but it's incredibly hard for the human brain to visualize how much visual mass those 80 inches will actually consume in my specific living room.
Visual mass is the exact right term, which is why the source heavily advocates for using augmented reality, or
Right.
AR, in your smart home buying process.
Okay, like on your phone.
Yeah, major retailer apps like IKEA or Home Depot, they now let you project a true-to-scale 3D model of the furniture directly onto your floor through your phone's camera.
I've actually tried this, and it feels like magic. You can literally walk around the digital couch in your living room.
It's incredible.
But how does this specifically solve the visual mass issue?
Because it forces your brain to process the item in the context of your existing space.
Right.
So a couch might technically fit the floor plan on paper, but if it has huge rolled arms and this really high back, the AR will show you how it blocks all the light from your window, or it shows you how it makes the pathway to the kitchen feel completely claustrophobic.
Oh, that's such a good point.
The rule of thumb from the guide is really simple. If the digital model makes the room feel crowded on your screen, the physical object will be completely overwhelming in real life.
That alone saves you the absolute nightmare of trying to disassemble a massive sectional and shove it back into a cardboard box for a return.
It is a total lifesaver. And to further combat that cramped feeling, the source really pushes for multifunctional space management. They want you to basically demand more from the items you allow into your home.
Meaning things that pull double duty.
Exactly. So instead of wide, low shelves that just eat up your floor plan, you think vertically. You get tall bookcases that draw the eye upward.
Right.
You look for convertible sofas or nesting tables that literally slide away when they're not in use, or beds with built-in storage drawers underneath.
Because when an object serves two purposes, you have successfully eliminated the need to buy, budget for, and store a second piece of furniture.
Exactly. You're saving money and space simultaneously.
Okay, so let's look at the long game here.
Yeah.
What does this actually mean for the listener a year from now?
Right, down the road.
Yeah. They've used the room-by-room audit to fight their fantasy self. They used the price trackers to stay on budget. They bought durable goods. And they manage their space with AR. How do they prevent the house from just slowly degrading back into a cluttered mess over time?
Well, that requires the final piece of the system, which is long-term maintenance and audits.
Maintenance.
Yeah. Buying quality is just the entry fee. Preserving that quality is how you actually realize the value. The guide is very specific about treating these essentials with respect.
Like the kitchen workhorses we talked about earlier.
Right. It means actually committing to the unglamorous work. You always hand wash a delicate blade like that Wusthof knife because the abrasive environment of a dishwasher will totally destroy the edge.
Oh yeah, dishwashers ruin good knives.
They do. And you take the time to season your cast iron skillet to maintain its nonstick polymerization.
It really changes your relationship with your possessions, doesn't it? You aren't just consuming them anymore. You're maintaining tools that serve you.
That's a beautiful way to put it. But beyond just physical maintenance, the source introduces this really vital organizational habit, the 6-month seasonal inventory check.
A biannual audit of your own house. Why is 6 months the magic interval?
Because 6 months is the exact amount of time it takes for pantry blindness to set in.
Pantry blindness.
Yes. It's long enough for seasons and your daily habits to shift, and for clutter to quietly accumulate in the corners of closets. But it's not so long that the prospect of taking inventory feels totally impossible.
Pantry blindness is so real, though. I am definitely guilty of buying like a third bottle of surface cleaner just because I couldn't be bothered to dig around under the sink to see if I already had one.
Oh, it happens to everyone. And those micro purchases, they drain your budget and they crowd your space. The 6-month audit strictly stops that cycle of buying duplicates.
Right.
Furthermore, it manages seasonal creep.
What do you mean by seasonal creep?
Well, instead of constantly buying new decorative items and just layering more and more visual noise into a room, the audit forces a rotation. So when the heavy winter blankets come out, the summer cooling gear gets packed away.
So the space remains dynamic, but the baseline level of clutter never actually rises.
Exactly. It's a complete paradigm shift. It's moving away from the idea that a home is this hungry mouth you have to constantly feed with new purchases.
And instead treating it like a gallery that you are actively curating.
Yes. And that curation process never really stops.
Which brings us to a perfect closing thought. We've covered the mechanics of outsmarting dynamic pricing. We talked about decoding materials and managing space. But before you open a new tab to look for something for your home, our expert has a final concept from the deep dive for you to just sort of chew on.
Yeah, it's a thought experiment that really tests the current state of your sanctuary.
I love this one.
I want you to think about the items sitting in your home right now, today. The gadgets on the counter, the furniture in the corner, the clothes in the closet. If every single one of those objects had to re-interview for its job today, based strictly on the actual value it brings to your daily life.
What?
How many of them would you rehire?
That is a brutal standard. I mean, if the things on my kitchen counter had to re-interview for the literal square footage they're taking up,
Yeah.
I know a few specialty appliances that would definitely be getting a pink slip today.
Right. It just totally forces you to confront the reality of what you own versus what you actually use.
It changes the entire filter. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope you take these frameworks and approach your next online purchase not as a frantic rush to fill an empty room, but as a deliberate, tactical curation of your space. Until next time, keep questioning what you let through your front door.
That's it for today's Meet Sean. If this helped, follow the show and share this episode with one person who needs it. See you next time.